Hello guys, good evening. How are you? How are you this evening? Yeah, say hi in the chat. I saw some of you who have been really saying hi to us. Hi JP, hi Kalpana, hi Hausie, Joni, Minzhi, Steve, Evelyn. Wow, I see some familiar faces here and I see some new people as well. Hi Joshua, hi Kenny. So happy to see all of you here. Miling, Constance, Alicia, Sneha. Yeah, Anita said, long time no see. I know, right? I'm not sure whether you are aware, but because of a lot of different projects that we are currently working on, we have decided to do once a month. And I think the last time we did it was probably like early July or something. So it just seemed like such a long time since the last time that I'm here with you guys. And I really miss you guys. So I'm not sure whether you have missed our webinars or you have missed talking to me on a bi-weekly basis. So let us know if you have, say like miss us. Okay. We have Tricia who say hi Violet, hi Stephen, hi Vanita. Awesome, awesome. Very excited to be back with you guys today. So I think those of you who are new with us, do we have any newcomers? Let us know. If you are new, you can say new in the chat right now. Would like to see, who are some of our new people and also welcome you. Kalpana saying she's new. Dan is new. Vanita, Constant, Vin, Chinwei. Wow, quite a lot of new people with us today. Sharon, Daisy. Okay, awesome. So seeing that there are so many new people with us today, I just want to let you know that our webinar maybe it's a bit different from other webinars that you have been to. So it's not going to be like just me or like, our speaker just keep droning on and on. We like to make it a bit more fun, a bit more engaging, a bit more conversational. So it's going to be a lot of this. I'm going to ask you questions. I'm going to ask you to type something in the chat. So, like, thanks guys. I think you guys are pro in this. Like all of you are doing it. Hi, Kenny. Hi, Esther. So as we go along, feel free to put in your question in the chat, or if you have some longer questions, you can put it in the Q&A box as well. So these are the two functions that we'll be using tonight at this webinar. And of course, at the same time, we'll also be using the poll or the survey function. Okay, so let's get started. I know, this is like already August. I can't believe it. I was just looking at the calendar and I was like, seriously, it's already August. And then there's only 4 months left in 2021. So we are very excited today because we have a very, very special guest with us who's going to talk to us about a very important topic. But hold your horses. We are going to get there soon. Okay, so maybe you can share with us right now, right? What is your New Year resolution? Actually, it's already been 8 months. So, what were some of your New Year resolutions, and have you already achieved it? Let me know in the chat right now. What was your New Year resolution, and have you achieved it? So maybe while waiting for yours, right, I can share with you guys. One of my New Year resolution this year is actually to lose weight. So not sure if you guys also have the same New Year resolution. And actually, I have been doing very badly. In fact, maybe just a couple of weeks ago, I was very shocked when I stood on the weighing machine and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm like the heaviest in 10 years. Can you imagine it? This is how bad lockdown can be. Those of you who are in Singapore, right? Those of you who are in Singapore, feel free to say Singapore. Yeah, we have gone through like two separate semi-lockdown this year. And I think like whenever I'm at home, I just keep eating and eating and eating. And I think those of you who are like maybe in Malaysia or Indonesia, Thailand, yes, do shout out as well. Let us know where you are. I think maybe you also have been in a lockdown situation, and I'm not sure whether you have been like me. Okay, who is like have lost weight this year, and who are the one who have been like me who have put on weight? Okay, let's see. We have Vanita who say from Jakarta. Vanita also say that she wants to lose weight. Sharon say look for a life partner. Okay, awesome. You're at the right place because today we're going to be talking about a very important topic, and maybe there's something that can help you in this journey. And then we have Tessa who says spend more time with family. Definitely understand. My parents are actually in Malaysia. I haven't seen them for like, oh my goodness, like 1.5 years, and I can't wait for the borders to open, like so we finally can see each other. Let's see. And Brianny say also to lose weight. Deborah say I maintain even though I walk every day. I know, right, Deborah? I was like doing 7 kilometers every day. Okay, but now I have cut down to 3 kilometers because of my dog. But anyway, that's another story altogether. Hausie say from Singapore, trying to learn a new sport. Herman say gain 10 kg, lost 4 kg. Oh my goodness, I think a lot of you are like in similar situation as me. Okay, but don't lose hope because there's still 4 more months to go. So I'm still very determined to hit my target weight by end of this year. I'll keep you guys updated as we go along in our webinar journey. Okay, so thanks so much for being so engaged and talking to me in the chat, right? Okay, so I just want to do the first poll. Okay, we want to practice to make sure everybody know how this poll works, right? Okay, so I'm just going to put the first poll right now, and you should see it right in front of you. So is this your first time joining the Lunch Actually webinar? I think some of you did mention just now you're a newbie, but we just want to hear from the rest of you as well. Like, have you been like the second time, third time, or like you have been here like many times? Okay, so wow, very good. Everybody is like very good at answering questions tonight. The poll number is going up, and we're already at like 65%. Okay, so I'm just going to end it in 3, 2, 1. Okay, ended. So we have quite a lot of newbies with us. 40% newbies, and then we have 20% who says I'm a fan. I always join whenever I can. Thank you so much. I mean, right, really appreciate like you guys being here with us. So I think, like I mentioned just now, I already shared with you like all the ground rules, what we do here. So before I welcome our very special guest tonight, I just want to do a quick introduction about myself and also about the company that's running this webinar, because I think a lot of you said that you're new, right? So if you cannot see on the Zoom, which you can, I'm sure. So my name is Violet, and I always joke, like I say, just in case you cannot remember my name, right? So I even dress myself in Violet so you can remember my name. But anyway, so I'm the CEO and co-founder of Lunch Actually, and also sometimes I'm known as the Chief Cupid as well. Okay, so a quick background about myself. I actually studied law, and then my first job was in a bank, and that was where I saw that a lot of my colleagues were single and not dating. Any bankers here, let me know, say banking, banker, whatever, or like if you are from my last bank, I was in a Citibank, you can let me know as well. So I was in a bank, and I saw that a lot of my colleagues were single and not dating. I was quite curious because like bankers usually they dress well, like they look good, and I was just thinking to myself, like, how come they are single, right? Then I realized it's because a lot of them have missed the opportunity of meeting someone at school or at university, and that's where actually I met my then boyfriend, now husband. So that was my inspiration to actually start Lunch Actually 17 years ago. I know, right? Like, don't guess my age. Okay, but anyways, so that was what we did. We started off as a lunch dating company, but now we have a whole entire suite of different products and services. And of course, we are in 5 different locations. So I think some of you have mentioned just now, Singapore, Malaysia, Jakarta, and we are in Thailand and Hong Kong as well. Do we have any friends who are in Hong Kong and Thailand who are with us tonight? Let us know in the chat. Celine says she's a banker. Kenny say banking industry, but not frontline, back end. Yep, understand. So yes, we have Steve who's from Hong Kong. Welcome. Hello, Lei Ho. Okay, so and the next thing I want to share with you is really our matching philosophy, because I think a lot of singles, if you ask your single friends why they are single, chances are they will say that I have not met the right one. Of course, meeting is very important, but we realize after being in this industry for so long that meeting is just one part of it. Like, being the right one is very important, and of course, choosing the right one is very important as well. So that's the reason why we have also started our coaching service, and we have also started doing webinars, because we feel that this is where we really can help to share our know-how, our expertise, our experience of what we have learned after being in this industry for 17 years. Next slide, please. So, of course, other than our matchmaking services, we have our date coaching services, and also have image coaching as well. And most recently, we also have launched a lunch dating app. So if you have not downloaded that, you can go and check it out. Okay, so that's it about me and the company. And I think now we are, very excited, because we really want to welcome on board our speaker for tonight. So before that, last question, because you're like, come on, really want to meet our speaker. Okay, so the topic that we have tonight, I thought is really interesting, and I really want to thank my wonderful team, May, Christina, and the rest of our webinar team, to, of course, find our speaker for tonight and to talk about this very interesting topic, which is toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. It's like, wow, so I think what we want to do is we want to find out from all of you in the room, have you actually heard about this before? What is toxic femininity and what is toxic masculinity? Yes, let us know in the poll right now. Yes. Very easy. There's just 3 options, right? Just pick one of them. Okay, so more than half of the room have participated. So I'm just going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1, and okay. So this is, I think that's why so many people have signed up to listen to today's webinar, because actually only 8%, okay, like not even 10%, only 8% of the room say, yes, I know them very well. And then half of the room, 52% say, no, I haven't heard about this at all. And 40% of the room say, I heard, but not sure what they mean. Great. So you're at the right place, because tonight we are going to have someone who understands and know this topic very, very well. And she is going to share more about this with us tonight. So joining us tonight, we have love and relationship coach, drumroll, Hannah Low. Let's all give Hannah the lunch weekly welcome. Type hello in the chat right now. Hello, 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 hello. We want to make Hannah feel very, very welcome. Hannah, where are you? Yes, there she is.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, hello. Hi, Hannah. Hannah, you want to do a quick intro about yourself, like what you do, who you are, like why did you end up being a love and relationship coach?
So yes, I'm a love and relationship coach. I help women and men heal their relationship to themselves, to others, to the opposite sex. I also coach women on healing their relationship to being a woman and to, understanding their bodies, periods, sexuality, intuition better. And how I got into this is because I had a series of really painful relationships, like one after the other after the other. And I just got to a point where I was so frustrated, depressed, and I felt so lost and confused. And I didn't understand, like, why is it that I can't have a relationship that feels loving, feels equal, where I end up feeling like we're really a match and we're on the same team and we connect. And so, I just, because of the pain of it, of not, in a way meeting my match and having the relationships that I wanted, I just dove into everything you can think of, like traveling all over the world when we could travel, and trying all kinds of teachers, from all over the world, really until I started to actually have results and to transform all my relationships. Actually, it wasn't like I just changed my relationship with men or with the opposite sex. It had a knock-on effect on my relationship with my parents, and my sister, with my friends, with everyone. So that's like the short, really brief version of how I got to this point. Yeah, and I've just been coaching men and women, mostly women so far, but men as well, since that time. So
Awesome. Thank you, Hannah, for that. And I think definitely what you have shared is very meaningful. And I think, like a lot of us can actually empathize or even understand that. And I think it's great that you yourself have gone through, some of this, because I think sometimes if we have not, it might be a bit more difficult to understand. So that's why we are very happy to have Hannah with us tonight. So I actually met Hannah sometime last year during one of the lockdowns as well. So we were both invited to Eric Feng. So some of you might know him. So he's a social media specialist. And then he and his very good friend Arthur, so they were hosting this show. And then they invited Hannah and I on the episode to talk about love. And in fact, it was so much fun, we actually not just did one episode of it. I think initially they only expected to do one, right? But we had so much fun, we all have so much chemistry. And then we actually end up doing 2 episodes.
We had such a ball. We were laughing half the time when we were doing this laugh.
Yes. And also that's where I know that Hannah has a beautiful voice. So, but don't worry, Hannah, I'm not going to ask you to sing tonight unless you want to. Yeah, so, but you guys can all follow Hannah on her Instagram. I'm not sure whether she does any singing there, but I was very happy, to be on the episode and then, hear her sing. So guys, are you guys excited to get started? Let us know, type yes in the chat, we're going to get started now. And then we're going to talk about all this toxic behaviors, toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. Yes, a lot of yes. Kenny, Michelle, Amy, yes, heck yes. Okay, awesome. So Hannah, because before we go into toxic behaviors, maybe you can share with us, why is it so important to connect with or embrace our masculinity or femininity. So I guess maybe for the guys out there, you know, like I'm sure a lot of them are here tonight, you know, for them to embrace their masculine side, and of course for females like us to embrace our feminine side.
Yeah. Well, you know, both everyone, men and women, have both masculine and feminine energy within them, right? So it's not just that women have feminine energy and men have masculine energy. We have both. And it's kind of like there's this potential, right? When you access fully this stream of energy, right? Of pure energy that is either masculine or feminine, the ability to really get things done, to be focused as masculine energy, you know, masculine energy, to have direction, to feel powerful, to feel your strength in many different ways, responsibility, all of those things, you know. And then for feminine energy, it's like empathy, compassion, nurture, it's going with the flow, it's, you know, tapping into your intuition, insight, it's it's like renewal, creation, it's that creative energy, you know, to get things going. So both these two energies are actually essential for us to really create like amazing things in the world. It's like if you without the masculine energy, right, a lot of the times you can feel scattered and you can't get things going, or you can't be consistent with things, or you can't actually bring things out into the world. It's like you have great ideas maybe, right, but you can't actually activate, right, the masculine component to get things out in the world and to be consistent and responsible. Or, you know, you can do that, but you're missing the creative aspect, which is connected to love, which is connected to meaning, right? So even though you can get things going, right, you're good at achieving and being successful, there's a part of you that feels void, right? Of like, okay, why am I doing this? What's the meaning behind all this? You know, I'm not connected to the emotional side of things, right? The part of me that's sort of has access to being able to just drop everything and go with the flow, or to sense when, you know, things are in alignment and when things aren't, so that I can really feel like, yeah, the meaning of life, you know, as I'm creating and succeeding and going out into the world. So why it's so important is that the potential of these two aspects of ourselves coming together and merging and creating like our lives, fulfilling lives, is that like the sky's the limit, right? And so when there are blocks, you know, within each and every one of us, we all have our blocks. Every you know, single one of us, we have different blocks. We've come here to, like, I think we've come here to work those blocks out because it's part of the fun of it. You know, if everything was easy, it wouldn't be fun, you know, to try and figure things out. And so you know, what I believe is we come in with a different amount of each, you know, that's like the authentic amount. So maybe it's more natural for me to have a 60% feminine energy and 40% masculine energy, right? But for me personally, I've had to do a lot of work to access the masculine part of me, right? So I probably, maybe because of whatever happened in my childhood, I actually was only able to access 5% of that. So I've had to work through to all these different blocks to access, you know, the rest of it. And I'm not saying I've accessed that all yet. But yeah, so we all have our blocks, and the more we work those blocks out, the more fulfilling our relationships, our lives, and so on can be in many different ways. So that's why I believe it's really important. It makes such a huge difference. If that's clear.
Thank you, Hannah.
Clear.
Yeah, I think, you know, like that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, when you were describing all of that, like what comes to mind is really like yin and yang, right? Yeah,
Yes.
which is like yang is definitely the masculine energy, and then yin is the feminine energy. And I think like you also like reminded me that yes, exactly, right, that's why there's this whole yin yang thing happening, because I think sometimes we just kind of like think that, okay, you know, as a female, like, you know, it's just about femininity, and then like a male it's just about masculinity, but that's not true. Like, so like what you have mentioned, we all need both. And I thought it was also very interesting when you mentioned that sometimes for some of us, for whatever reason, because of our background, or like when we were growing up, or maybe some experiences that we have had, you know, like when we were younger, and as a result of that, it makes us more difficult to like assess like a certain energy. I think like those are definitely very good points.
Yeah.
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 So like jumping onto like to next topic, right? Which then of course now like we are adding in the word toxic in front of both of this, like toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. So what does that mean actually?
Yeah, well, I like to kind of, I like to go to the extremes, because sometimes when we go to the extremes, it gives us a better idea. So I like to think of supervillains because it gives us a good, when we think of a supervillain, then we go, oh, okay, that's the essence of that. So if you think of a like Cruella de Vil, did anyone watch the new movie? Did you watch the new movie that came out? It's really good.
Oh,
Uh,
I haven't. Okay, I'll try
oh,
and
well,
catch it.
I highly recommend it. It's good fun. But if anyone has watched Cruella de Vil in 101 Dalmatians, you kind of know the character, right? She's kind of psychotic. She's just out for revenge at any cost, and she doesn't care. But it's the pleasure, of getting revenge, and she's sort of all over the place, and she's unpredictable. I don't know if you've heard of this. The bunny boiler kind of expression, from the movie Fatal Attraction with Glenn Close, where she just loses it and she becomes psychotic. And that's the energy of toxic femininity, right? It's where we're so consumed with our emotions, right? With the anger of the things that didn't go the way we wanted, from the pain of being hurt, blah, 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 blah. And then we want to get revenge, right? We want to take it out on others, right? Because we don't actually want to be responsible for our own feelings. So that really, like, if I had to sort of whittle it down, and I'm really like being very black and white about this, there's many nuances, right? But I just wanted to give you a flavor so you can go, okay, Cruella de Vil, or even the Joker, right? The Joker in Batman, like, he's not a woman, but it's the same energy. It's the Joker. He's kind of psychotic and crazy and all over the place, but it's because from a deep pain, right? Really deep pain. And the way that he responds to it is consumed by his emotion, acts out, and wants revenge. So super simplified, that could be an extreme version of toxic femininity. And then toxic masculinity is like your Darth Vader, or your Terminator. Or if you guys watched Avatar, it's that colonel, in Avatar, who's just this no emotion, void, like, it's the complete opposite. It's like void of emotion, chop off their heads, I don't care, get it done, like no feeling whatsoever. And they through extreme control, like, just dominates and punishes, and just, it's my way or the highway kind of thing. Again, that's a super simplified version of toxic masculinity. And so give you like these really extreme versions, so that you go, okay, then you work backwards from that, right? Because we all have aspects of this within us, right? That we have to work through in our relationships, with the best of intentions, when we're in pain, right? Because both the toxic part of it comes from a wound. It comes from like some sort of a fear of being hurt, or some sort of pain, betrayal, like from the past, that's unresolved, right? And when that gets triggered, in whatever setting, in whatever relationship, then it's like, what do you do? It's usually the toxic aspects of us that comes out at that point. And yeah, and it can look like either of those, to super simplify it to begin with.
That's really helpful, because I think right now all of us can, just imagine, okay, toxic femininity, that we have Cruella, and then like toxic masculinity, we have Darth Vader. I think that helps, like, I know, like, I agree it's like super simplified, but I think at least that kind of gives us a context. So like in a way it's like void of emotions for toxic masculinity, and then like toxic femininity, it's like just so like you say, like engorged in the whole emotions, and then just going like crazy about it. You're like, okay, I think that's great, and I agree, like maybe very simplified, but it's great. It helps us to kind of put things into context. So I think now a lot of our singers, like I'm sure those of them who are with us tonight as well are like using dating apps. Like, who's actually using dating apps? Let us know in the chat. Say me, okay, so we can know how many of you are actually using dating apps. So how can we actually spot some some of this toxic masculinity or toxic femininity online? Like, what are some of the indicators? And maybe we can kind of like notice the red flags and identify them like, right away.
Yeah. So it's, first of all, I would say it's two things. Would I want to narrow it down to? Well, I'll start with two and see where I go from there. So the first thing is to notice how someone responds when they don't get what they want from you, right? That's the first, just super simplify it, right? When someone doesn't get what they want, like, how do they respond to that? Do they do the toxic masculinity thing, which is to shut down and sort of like not want to show weakness because they don't want to show vulnerability. They don't want to show that they're not in control and they're not like in a place of power, which is really what the toxic masculinity stuff is about. Is like, we don't want to feel weak and powerless because we want to be the ones, because, there's always power dynamics, right? When we come into relationships, whether we want to admit it or not, right? There's always that underlying thing of like, who's got the power, right, in this interaction? And so when you don't get what you want, or that other person doesn't get what they want, do they withhold from you, in order to sort of like distance themselves, in order to punish you for not doing what they want, right? Those are the things that I would look out for, is how does someone respond when they don't get what they want from you? Are they instead open? Like, hey, just wondering, like, are they open to questioning and not making assumptions? Or are they going to deteriorate into playing ego games with you, which is like, okay, I won't talk to you for a week and see what happens, or I'll withhold somehow. So that's like the sort of toxic masculine way. And the toxic feminine way is to find ways to manipulate, guilt trip, like, or find a way to go into a control of like, I don't feel secure right now. And so I need you to reply to me within this amount of time, or I can't feel safe. Or what are you doing? Or, it's like when there's a lot of that energy, that's a lot of the toxic femininity of like wanting to, when consumed with your own feelings, you don't know what to do with it, then you try to control the outside, the other person, to give you what you want through manipulation. So it's noticing those sort of signs as signs of toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. And it's not to write people off completely, right? I'm not saying that, but you can call those things out. You can say, hey, because we only react to those ways because there's fear. We're afraid of being hurt. I mean, it really always comes down to that. We're afraid of being hurt. We're afraid of the one who's not in the power position, who feels weak, who feels vulnerable. And so if you approach it with, hey, what do you like, what's going on with you right now? Like, how can we talk about this, about what's happening? Like I always say, the medicine for the thing that you're having trouble with is always the opposite. If it's withholding love, then the medicine is actually to give, to open up. So yeah, that's two things. I don't want to overload people with too much, but just starting honestly off with that is going to already start to sort of, show you where these little warning signs are. I could say more, but I wanted to just let you come back.
So I think what I have picked up is like the power dynamics, like it or not, it's going to be there. And I think like people react to the whole power dynamics differently. So some go down the toxic masculinity route, and some go down the toxic femininity route. So I think the other thing that you brought up, which definitely is very important, which is how do you identify it, is to see how they react when they don't get what they want. And I think this happens probably not just at dating apps or even dating, but I guess any aspect in our life, right? And I think another point that is very, very true, and I totally agree, is that when we tend to get certain behaviors, our maybe immediate reaction is to like, an eye for an eye, right? You deal with me this way, I'll just do the same back. Yeah, but like what you say is that rather than doing that, is that, if they're going to withhold attention, they're going to withhold love, rather than we do the same, we are just going to like walk, like they walk one step backwards, we actually walk one step forward, rather than they walk backwards, we walk backwards, and the end. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the whole toxic femininity and the toxic masculinity, what can happen sometimes is also like someone do toxic masculinity, the other person might react with toxic femininity, and then it just keep going.
Yes, exactly. Like with toxic femininity, or just with anyone, like what I see in a lot of women is just this deep want and longing to be loved, and desperation to feel loved, by another man, and also a man for a woman, as well, right? It's just deeply wanting to be loved. And because of that, when the it's like when it looks like that love is going to be taken away, there's so much fear, right? Because we think the only way that we're going to get that love is outside of us, right? And so we do all these things to control the other person through subtle like manipulation or control, or just out and out control, so that we don't have to feel the pain of not feeling loved, or not feeling good enough, or not feeling, approved of in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it always goes back to that. I agree with you. It's like it always go back to us feeling not good enough, us feeling like we worried that if we do this or we say that, or we don't do this or we don't do that, and then like people just won't love us anymore. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think the fear usually always go back to this very basic but very strong emotions.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if you want to really boil it down, like how to look out for it, it's literally what I said earlier about the extreme measures. It's like, does someone respond to you being open emotionally? They don't have to be, it's not like gushing, but it's just a sense of openness when something happens, right? That's could create a little bit of conflict, or even if in the way that they talk about other people, right? Or the way I say a good sign is, how do they talk about their ex-partners or ex-boyfriends?
That's a good one.
Really good sign to know how a person deals with things, right? Did I
Yes.
shut them out, right? Don't want anything to do with them, or she's just crazy, or he's just a narcissist, right? And just nothing to do with me, right? For me, that's already like, that would already be like a little bit of a warning sign. Okay, that's how the person sees the last relationship. And every relationship, no matter what relationship it is, there's always two parties, and you always bring your individual stuff. It's never one person, right? So that's also another way to look at it. But just, I mean, yeah, super broad strokes is that person overly emotional in terms of like, dramatic, constantly, caught up in drama, or caught up in, right, some sort of consuming emotional reactions all the time? Or is that person very void of it, just not very connected to their emotions? That already can tell you a lot about, yeah, the kind of person who you're interacting with. And again, it's not to judge anyone or to shut them off, but it's more just to understand where they're at, and you have the choice of whether you want to go into that experience of a relationship or dating with them.
Yeah, love that. And I really love like what you say about the ex. Makes so much sense. So maybe not to ask about exes on the first date or a second date, but eventually when you get there, I think like what just Hannah has said, it says a lot like how the person actually talk about their ex. And I think it also shows the person like maturity, like emotional maturity, and also like how much or how not much they have moved on from that relationship as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like Hannah have shared with us like about the definition, and like about the traits of toxic masculinity as well as toxic femininity. So I think what we'd like to ask you right now, which you should see in front of you, have you actually met or dated someone who actually displayed some of these traits of toxic masculinity or toxic femininity? Yeah, so let us know. Yes, all the answers are coming in. Please vote if you have not. And just to let you know, this is the last poll for the night. So if you never get to vote previously, this is your last chance to do so. Okay, so a lot of people are voting. If you are not voting, you are like in the minority. So come join us in the majority and vote. Okay, so I'm going to just end the poll in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we actually have 2/3 of the room, 67%, who say that yes, I have. 33% of the room actually say no, they have not. Yeah, that's nice. So Hannah, I think like you have given like a lot of great examples, and I think definitely you have also given our participants tonight on some ways to spot some of these warning signs. But do you think that when someone is still in the early stages of dating, like this characteristics of toxic masculinity or toxic femininity can actually be attractive? Like somehow, it's like displaying some of this, like it kind of like have the, what do we say, like the hot and cold, because I think you talk a bit about like toxic masculinity, so it could be a bit of the void of emotions, or like just shutting down. Like, so again, sometimes like people feel that if the person is too available, then they think that, oh, like, why are you so available? So what do you think? Like, could there maybe be some I don't know, elements of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'm really glad you asked that, because that's something I wanted to make sure I talked about. Is this so? A lot of the times, we go into this idea of dating thinking that we are consciously in control of the kind of person that we want to meet or attract, or that we want to date, right? We think that, okay, I want this kind of person, and when I get this kind of person, right, then I'll be happy, then the relationship will be good, blah, 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 blah. But actually, the truth of the matter is that there's a larger part of us, right, that creates this massive blind spot, which is what you're talking about, right? Which is basically in our subconscious, all of us have like our wounds from our past, right? The conditioning from our parents, from our mothers and our fathers, whether we like it or not, or whoever were our primary caregivers, right? So, for example, with me and my dad, right? So my relationship with my father was very, let's say, absent. Like, he wasn't there for me emotionally at all. He did not know how to connect with me, and that built up a lot of resentment and anger and blah 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 blah. And I thought that I would go out there and not, go specifically looking for a man who would be like that, right? But because I had this massive blind spot in me, um, which what I call is like, for people who are single, is like when you eroticize your wounds, right? When it becomes really sexy to, for whatever reason, like see an unavailable man as attractive, right? An unavailable man or woman is attractive. Why is it that that the idea of it is so sexy? It's because, like, for me personally, it was the part of me that wanted to change my father, right? Change, like, if I can change this unavailable man and make him emotionally available, then it means that I'm really worthy of being loved. It means that I'm good enough to be loved, right? And because of this blind spot, then, like you said, the people who are like emotionally unavailable, who kind of withhold, they don't answer back so often, they kind of keep their distance, suddenly you feel so attracted to, because the idea of satisfying, like you're satisfying that wound of being, oh, that unavailable dad that I didn't have is now loving me, is greater than your own consciousness. And I see this happening over and over again. It's like a friend of mine, he was like, oh, like there's all these women who are so available, right? And they're nice and they're great and they'd be great for me to be with. But why is it that I want the woman who tells me, like, okay, you can call me in 2 weeks. And I'm just like hanging there like a dog waiting for the bone to drop. But there's part of me that brings up all this excitement. And then I asked him, okay, so what was your relationship with your mum like? And it was exactly the same. The way that he had his relationship was with his mum, which was that she was constantly like, no connection with him. No, she wouldn't even touch him, for weeks on end. And then suddenly she'd be there and then she'd be gone. So this unpredictable, unstable, feminine presence. And then, of course, he finds the unstable, unpredictable, feminine, like, woman, this woman so attractive. So it's so important to know this, because it's like this massive blind spot that most people don't realize they have. And you go out there and you think you have a choice, but but it's that part of you, right, that just desperately wants that completion to happen. And then that's what would have you, be sort of blindsided by these different things. And there's many different ways, like I talk about, if we're in the bad boy, the guy that you want to save. Why is it that I keep finding men that need me to save them, to take care of them financially? For the men, why is it that I keep finding women that need me to take care of them, that only want me because of my money or for security reasons? So yeah, it's such an important piece. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Wow, I think definitely a lot of people are saying that, like they took some time for them to learn that. And I think what you said is so important because parenting, people always say that our parent, like would, what is the word? Like I think it's definitely not intentional, because I think all parents just want the best for their children and want to do their best. But I think sometimes just unintentionally we would like hurt our children. And I think like what you have mentioned, right? And I think it's really like how we are maybe even yearning for this closure or this completion, like, and we don't even know it. So because we couldn't get it from our parents, so like you said, so we are just attracted to some of these traits. And I even have a friend whose situation is quite interesting. She say that every boyfriend that she look out for the next time is always what she didn't get from the previous boyfriend. So, like maybe not just the parent, but just, like it could also be like in our previous relationships as well. And she also went through coaching for her to discover this blind spot. Because at first she's like, oh, I don't have a pattern, because you always kind of say, okay, most people, they always have a pattern, they always go for a certain type of guy. But in her case, it's like it seems very random, because like the guys all seem a bit different. But when she dive into it, she realizes that she's always going for the unresolved, like issue from the last relationship.
Wow, that's so interesting. Yeah. Yeah. It's just it's like I kind of call it like a secret superpower once you unlock this stuff. Because suddenly it's like, basically after I saw this, I saw all of the men who I would normally be attracted to, and I finally wasn't attracted to them because I could see that element in them, but I was blind to it before. It was like I had like these rose tinted glasses on. And the moment I actually started dressing stuff, it's like taking them off, and I was like, "Ooh, I see that same guy coming along." And I could feel still a little part of me, that like little part of me that wants a little bit of attention from that kind of guy. But had a lot more like space within me, like this awareness of conscious, being aware, of that to be able to make a different choice.
So for some of our listeners tonight, like who like maybe now go like, oh my goodness, like wow, this is aha. Like what are some of the maybe step by step ways, or like maybe just an exercise, like, or something they can do to help them identify this blind spot, like just see it a bit clearer?
Yeah, I mean, for men and for women, just look at for men, relationship with your mum, women, relationship with your dad, or if you're looking for a same-sex relationship, vice versa. It's just to really start asking yourself, like, okay, what was it like to be my father's daughter? Not right now, because a lot of people go, oh, but now we're fine, we resolved everything, right? No, when you were a child, like what was it like, as a child, as a little girl or a little boy, being around your mum or your dad? A lot of people go, oh yeah, actually I remember like my mum, leaving me to go to work and me crying, uncontrollably, and no one could console me at the door for hours. That's a big wound, that if that is not resolved at some point, it's like it's not so much what actually happens to us, it's what happens inside of us, like the beliefs that are created. Oh, my mum doesn't really love me. I'm not important enough to her. Work's more important. Oh, and suddenly then I'm attracted to all these business women who, who are so busy being successful, but they don't have any time for me. I'm just giving like a random example.
Yes, yes, got it.
So it's just to, start looking at what was your relationship like to your mother or father as you're growing up, and start to see if you can connect the dots. Because usually you can start seeing like, oh, okay. And also stuff like, I was coaching someone recently, and she had a lot of insecurity with her boyfriend and this other woman. And this other woman was very much like a similar energy to her sister. And she always felt like she was fighting for attention from,
Mm,
from her father, between her and her sister. And so, you know what I mean? So even looking at, okay, what was the dynamics of like me fighting for attention from my parents with certain siblings? So those things can really tell you a lot uh, about what kind of relationships, what's that kind of like subconscious, unconscious thing that's lying there, kind of driving the show. Because it is going to be way stronger than what you're consciously, say, wanting.
nice. So we have Tessa who says that makes so much sense now. I always go for emotionally unavailable guys because my dad was always MIA when I was growing up. Only took 29 years to click. Well, not too late.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes. So thanks Hannah for that. And wow, I mean like you have been giving us so much great value, and then like I'm like, oh my goodness, it's like 9:46. So we really need to start taking in some questions. I think we have a lot of great questions that have come in. So let me just look at them. And okay. So we have a question here from Kenny. May I know if having EQ is more on the side of femininity or masculinity, or is it a balance?
I mean, EQ is, it is generally related to the feminine side of you, right? Your emotions, your how you feel. So yeah, I would say yes.
Okay, and another question here from Christine. So Christine asks, can those who display toxic traits, be it like toxic femininity or toxic masculinity, change over time?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. I am still like working through my own, like levels of toxic femininity and masculinity within me, both. One thing I wanted to mention is that something I see a lot with women is this emasculating men, which is actually toxic masculinity. It's, I need to make you feel smaller about yourself so I can feel bigger. I need to disempower you, right? By sort of attacking your masculinity, parts of you that would make you sort of be more, seem stronger, more powerful, more this, in order to feel better, or as a way to sort of get back, for whatever things that are unresolved. So, but yes, all of those can be dissolved and transformed over time for sure.
So maybe on that note, I think like Billy here asked the question, are most toxic masculinity or femininity, are they suffering from PTSD? Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's definitely PTSD specifically, but I absolutely, every kind of person who is toxic in whatever sense is suffering from some wound from the past that is unresolved. So it's to have compassion, and to understand that always all these things that we do that are seemingly bad or wrong, they all come from a very like painful place in the past. So there's just pain there,
Yeah.
and fear.
Totally agree. So sorry for those who didn't understood what PTSD means. It's a post-traumatic syndrome disorder. Okay. So another question here. If a guy is more feminine or maybe have more femininity, I guess, can the masculine side be cultivated?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's all sorts of interesting shifts happening now where men are getting more in touch with their femininity, which is great because a balance needs to happen. And then, but sometimes because of this cultural stigma now of toxic masculinity is so heavy that I see some men pulling back, like just need, to actually allow or express, parts of their masculine nature. So it's very healthy for men to develop and to allow. I don't want to say develop because it's already there. That's not the truth of it, right? The pureness of the masculinity is already there. It's just unblocking the stuff in the way of it. Your judgments, your fears, your, all sorts of things, right? That distort the energy from coming out in a pure way.
So, what are maybe some steps that they can take, like maybe, something they can start off with to unblock this?
Well, first of all, meditation. I know it's like not the most fun thing to say, right? But masculinity in its purest form is just pure consciousness, pure awareness. It's like this, my husband likes to describe it as the sun, the single point of focus that radiates out in every direction. And so when you sit in meditation and you can get into a still point within you, a stillness and a presence within you, and access that consciousness within you, that's part of being in your own masculinity. It's like allowing and cultivating that masculinity, right? To be able to be in the present moment, to be still, to be anchored, right? Grounded. When you, like, for women, it's really sexy for a man to be able to like sit there and, and gaze without moving their attention or their eyes, and they're just fully focused. Like, to be able to be in that space, and not from a forced place, but from an inner stillness, is very attractive to women. So if you're like thinking, oh, meditation, just think of how attractive it will make you to women, to start to cultivate that within you.
Wow, definitely. You have made me look at meditation in a different light. We have another question here from Constance. So Constance said that my biological father left us when I'm 2 years old, and then my mom remarried. So my stepfather and I actually have a very good relationship. So which father relationship I should be looking into to clear my block?
Oh, thanks so much for sharing that. Constance, did you say?
Yes, Constance, yes.
Yeah. Both. But definitely the father that left will affect you in some shape or form. Yeah. So I would look at both.
Yeah. Another question here, silent treatment. So how do you deal with repeated silent treatment? So I guess this is like the toxic masculinity. At first, I thought I should be more proactive, but later I decided not to look too desperate and back off a bit, but then it got more silent. And when I was ready to move on, he messaged and initiated to talk.
Right. So how do you deal with the silent treatment? I would be very clear in expressing that that's not something like that I would want to have continue happen, and to just ask why, like just ask what's happening. So before I make any assumptions, like ask what's happening with why that person has gone silent. If they continue to do it, I personally would not stay if I also like had a conversation with them about, this is actually not a responsible way to interact. So yeah, I would allow the person space to explain themselves, but if they repeatedly did that, I would choose a different experience.
Yeah, definitely. I think that also cross over not just about toxic masculinity and toxic femininity, it cross over to a toxic relationship as well, right? So definitely agree with you on that. Okay, so we'll take one last question here. So from Joshua, the question is, from what you have said about people seeking relationship to fill a blind spot, like what advice would you give to prevent this from controlling a relationship too much, or like I guess like influencing our choice maybe?
I see.
Yeah.
Well, very difficult in the beginning. Like I had to do a lot of internal, healing work. So I actually had a lot of teachers, coaches, personal, like one-on-one sessions to help me look and see the blind spots within me, because they're blind spots for a reason. We can't see, So I would say I would definitely advise to look for professional help from someone who's an expert who can help you to see those blind spots and start to personally work on that yourself. Because the more you work on that, right, the more that you're going to be able to be in a better space to be in a relationship, and to see it when it comes up. But the other thing that I would say is we're not meant to go into relationships perfect. You know, we're not supposed to, like, relationships are there actually to show us the blind spots too. It's a kind of a chicken and egg thing, you know. You can do as much as you can before, but you're never going to clear. I mean, I shouldn't say never, but it's very difficult to clear everything before you get into a relationship. And actually, the beauty of being in a relationship is that you get to work things out together. So, you know, with me and my husband, it's not like I cleared everything. We worked through a ton, and we're still working through stuff together. He helps me with my blind spots. I help him with his. And like, that's the beauty of relationships, is that so we can see and experience each other and help each other to grow, you know, and evolve. And that journey in itself is really fulfilling. I mean, from my personal point of view. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Hannah. I totally agree with you on that. So, okay, I've asked the last question from the audience, but I mean, since I'm the moderator or host, I get to ask the last question.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, you know, I'm sure most of the participants tonight, or maybe even all of the participants tonight, are actually actively dating, you know, like looking to meet someone. So, what would your advice be? I mean, like, since you are a love and relationship coach, what advice would you have for our single men and women out there who is looking to increase their chances of getting quality dates and meeting the right one?
I say, you know, that you only ever attract what you are resonating at, right? It's like we all have a certain frequency, right, that we resonate at based on how much love we feel for ourselves, how much, you know, how many blocks we have, right, to loving others, vice versa, right? So we're always, what I want to say is that we're always going to be attracting what we're resonating at. So if you want to attract someone who is going to be joyful, courageous, who's going to be open, who's going to be like willing to do the work with you, you have to be that yourself. And I think you already said this. I like that you say this anyway in one of the things that you shared earlier in one of the videos. You know, it's not about I have to meet the right person. It's like the right person gets magnetized to you, right? We know it inherently, right? You know when you're really stressed and you're really, you know, and you're worried and and then everything goes wrong, right? It's like everything that you could possibly think of, because you're in that state. You're attracting all this stuff to happen because of what is internally happening within. So the more you work on yourself, right? And I say, like, if you're going to pick 3 or 4 things, I say, one, like, how much like joy do you cultivate in the life that you have? How much do you already love your life? You know, who wants to be with someone who hates their life? You know, right? The more that you cultivate joy in how much you love it, like, I love the work that I do. I love, you know, I love the time that I'm spending with people. I actually feel my life is really full. And if someone comes in, they're going to have like an overflow, right? Of joy, of great, you know, of fun, of excitement, of the love that I can give. Isn't that a way more attractive person to sit down and chat with than someone who's like, oh, well, you know, like, oh, God, it complain, right? So
Yes.
cultivating joy, doing something courageous often, right? Courage is a really interesting thing, because what I've noticed is every time I do something courageous, right, whether it's with my work, whether it's telling somebody something that's really scary for me to share, right, whether it's going out there and being seen like this, it always opens the doors to like what I call this fulfillment on the other side that is always like waiting for us and available to us. Right? Every time you're courageous. Now, the more you do that, the more you're going to have vast amounts of really interesting experiences and really sort of fulfilling experiences to share with another person, the more you do that, the more people are going to be like love being around you, because there's an openness, right? That has to happen if you want to be courageous. So I'd say that's like the second thing. And the third thing is just integrity, honesty, authenticity. It's the stuff, like the more you're willing to allow someone to see what you're really feeling, like, what's happening within you, like being really honest, like I'm actually really nervous right now on this date, and it's not like a dumping on the person, like telling them everything. It's just a sort of, right, like, I'm really nervous, but I'm really excited to be here kind of thing, or the openness of wanting to get to know a person, like being really openly interested in the people around you, like, how did they get to this point in their lives? What's the thing that they're scared of? When was the last time they cried? It's like cultivating that kind of a lifestyle, that kind of a internal experience for yourself is going to be a way more attractive, right, experience for somebody else. Be like, wow, I want to be part of that, right? Because you want to, and a person, then the person who's going to be resonating at that's the kind of person you're going to attract, right? And you'll be able to see people like, why would I want to be with someone who's really down on themselves, who doesn't treat themselves well, when I already treat myself well, So
Yep, totally. I totally get it. And Hannah, I think when you were describing, that 3 points and that person, like I think like, wow, like I want to meet this person as well. Someone who is joyful, someone who is courageous, someone who is willing to be vulnerable. I think sometimes we don't think about this enough. Like we are always thinking like maybe on a more superficial level, but I think what you have said is really the crux of it. And I think, like one of our participants have said, it's the law of attraction as well, right? So like what we are putting out there is like what we are going to attract. So like you say, we keep putting out negative energy, like we are so upset, we are so grumpy, we are so like angry, then, like I guess, we shouldn't be surprised if like the people we constantly meet are like that as well.
Yes, exactly.
So all good things have to come to an end. So thank you, Hannah, for like being with us tonight, actually, like spending even more time than expected with us. So I just want to also very quickly share with everybody that we do have a special gift for you for staying on with us. So today we are going to give you an ebook which is very relevant to tonight's topic, which is what to do if you are in a toxic relationship. I think some of you talked about that just now, and how you redeem it. You can see it right on the screen now. And of course, I think, Hannah has just given us like so many important points and like just lots of things to think about for tonight. And I think some of you have mentioned that you really would love to know more about what she does. You want to get more of her advice. You want to hear more about what she has to say. So not to worry. She has a very active Instagram account at Hannah Patricia Low. So I'm not sure whether we have a slide on that. If not, I'm just going to put it right now on the chat so you can follow her if you have not already done. Okay, yes, so definitely she has lots of great content there, like she has videos and like yeah, just go there, like it's amazing. So Hannah, I just want to thank you once again, for joining us tonight, for sharing just so openly, so generously. And I think, like definitely we have lots of great takeaway tonight. So what I always say, like at every webinar we do is that we don't want you guys to just come here and just listen and just forget all about it. So I want you to share in the chat right now what is your biggest takeaway and what are you going to do about it to like transform your dating life, or just something that is an aha for you. Like let us know right now in the chat, like what is the biggest aha for you, what is your greatest learning tonight, or if you can, like just share with us as well, like what are you going to do, like what has Hannah actually inspired you to take action on tonight. Let us know in the chat right now. Yes. Okay, so we have Wong who said that emphasize the importance of being the right one. Yeah, definitely. It's about not just about the other person, but also looking within ourselves as well. And then we have Amy who say meditate. Yes, like Hannah totally give me a totally different aspect of meditation right now. And Tessa say attract people with the same aura that we resonate. Definitely. Louis say positive attracts. You need to resonate the same frequency. We have to create more joy, courage, and be authentic. Yes, from Su Peng. Thank you for that. I love it. Leonard say, now I know I need to heal my inner self before finding your other half. For sure, definitely. And I think like what Hannah has mentioned just now, and I think one of the participants have asked just now that how do we do it? And I agree, a lot of times it's like if it's a blind spot, like we probably can't see it ourselves. And I totally agree that we probably need to work with someone. And I think if you are looking for a love and relationship coach, like who else than Hannah, who have shared like so many amazing tips with us tonight. Yep. So a lot more. We have be mindful, like whether we are being controlled by blind spots. Let's see, what else do we have? Yes, get a love coach to explore the patterns. Childhood relationship with parents, being unassuming, let the other person explain, and a lot more. So I'm sorry if I couldn't read out your answers, but thank you so much for like sharing here, because I always say it's like when you write it down, you are going to learn more. It's like you write it down, you're going to remember, and then best if you can write down your action plan, because obviously if you write it down, the chances of you doing it will be even higher. So we are also going to have another webinar next month. So it's going to be honeymoon phase is over. What should I do? And we're going to have some of our coaches and matchmakers join us at this upcoming webinar. So if you're interested, you can sign up at lunchwithlee.com/webinar. So thank you, Hannah, once again for being with us here. And I'm sure you're going to get a lot of new followers from tonight, because you've just been so awesome. You've just given us like so much wonderful, advice. So I look forward to see you hopefully in KL, like when our borders finally open.
I would thank you so much for having you, everybody, for joining and all your questions. I wish I could answer more, but I'm just so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Good night.
Bye.
And have a wonderful rest of the evening with your husband. Good night. Bye.